I am honored this evening to present the ICA Harlem Film and Media Trust Pioneer Award to Pearl Bowser. Pearl Bowser is an internationally acclaimed film scholar, film curator, and archivist. She programmed numerous festivals and touring programs of African American and African films, including From Harlem to Hollywood, Journey Across 3 Continents, and Celebration of Black Cinema. Pearl is revered among filmmakers for her willingness to advise and her strong support of the field and emerging talent. She's widely recognized for having single-handedly reintroduced the world to Oscar Michaud, who until then had virtually disappeared from public notice.
Thank you very much. This is like coming home. I was born not too far from here. I had my education not too far from here. I was a member of the early civil rights movement, the early women's movement, and I was interested in trying to discover who I am. And I say that currently because I'm just really beginning to know who I am. And it's based on not the research of one person, but it's based on the history of filmmaking in this country. It's not just black filmmaking. The good things come in good time. I'm not retired in the sense that I've moved away from filmmaking, I've moved away from the history, because I realize that the history is always with us. It's confronting us over and over and over again. And it's something that filmmakers need to be aware of, because it is the one corrective tool we have. It's the one thing that documents our community in the spirit of what it was. And I'm not talking about World War I, World War II. I'm talking about much, much, much before that. I'm talking about people who got on the wagon trail and crossed the country and populated towns, black towns, from here to California. And that story is not just our story. I mean, it's an American story. Yes, it is. And it's something that needs to be done to educate our young people so that they don't think they're coming out of nothing. They don't think, as women, they never had a role in filmmaking. I could go on and on and on about what we have done and what we have not, as a community, honored ourselves for. We don't look at the women's movement predating, we talk about Booker T. Washington. We don't think of those women as educators. We think they were women, yeah, and they were part of maybe something to do with the abolitionist movement. But what we don't realize, these were our educators. These were the women who made sure that we had whatever education we got it from them. And they didn't sit idly at home. They traveled. They collected stuff. They brought it to the little houses that were the original one schoolhouses. But beyond that, they made effective use of tools that were available to them. And what was available to them? Film was available. How could they get film into a little backwater area that didn't have a theater? When the camera was first discovered and it was advertised in all the newspapers, Chicago Defender had ad for it, and people went out and they bought it. You could buy it, and you could use it in creative ways. One of the ways, which I single out as important, because it was a way of establishing community. It was like the drum. You know, the drum in Africa was our ticker tape machine. It was our communication with what was going on in the village that was a little too far to get to, but we were always made aware of who we were, where family was, and what we could do to help each other. Even if it meant warring tribes. It was something that it connected people in a way that we don't really have an opportunity to do that anymore. We connect through commercial television, and it's always selling us something. That something that's selling us is not black. It's not about our culture. It's not honoring and privileging our culture. And when you begin, I don't want to talk too long, but when you begin to explore what it is that film and the black community has done for itself,
I mean, you should sit up and applaud wildly. You should sit up and take notice that there were people who you don't know, you probably never will get to know unless you do your research in terms of finding out who your forebears were, who your ancestors were. You know, it's family. You recognize it, and it's not just because they look like us, but there's a whole lot more. There's the music that we share. There's a language that we share that was spoken in the backwoods of America during slavery, for instance. It's like talking about the gospel music. And what did the gospel songs tell us? They weren't just hallelujah, hallelujah, great God Almighty, I'm so glad I'm here. It was a whole lot about secret coding, the spirituals, the music, the preaching, and the fact that people thought, whites in particular, and I'm not condemning whites because whites played a very important role in our lives, in our survival. They were the abolitionists. They held the above ground railroad, while blacks had the underground railroad. We crossed swamps at night with our babies tied to our bodies. We crossed rivers and whatnot that we couldn't have a boat to go in. And yet, we got to the other side. When we got to the other side, there were friendly people of various different stripes and colors. They were known as the abolitionists. And today we don't really talk about the abolitionists. We don't talk about the movement that was there. And we certainly don't talk about the presence of Africans in that movement. We weren't just given things. We worked for what we got. And we were honored by what we got. And it's only in current, and I'm going to stop after this, it's only in current times that we're beginning to privilege those films that were made long before Hollywood was in existence. We're only beginning to, we read about them in the history of the black press. But the notion that a film could do more than just transcend the current reality. It was a way of connecting family. It was a way of telling you what was happening in terms of members of your family, people who fought in the Spanish-American War. It's a way of turning around the history of war. We participated. You know, and some of Oscar Micheaux's films, he talks about, you know, I can't, I'm getting so emotional, I'm getting carried away. I want to close with something very, very positive. I think that this is a wonderful organization we're establishing here. I think what needs to happen in terms of this organization is the reality that there is a history that goes far back beyond. And it's not Hollywood that we're honoring. It's honoring the individuals who participated in that wonderful invention of the camera and putting people in front of it in areas where they didn't have a theater. Somebody would buy the equipment, put it on the back of a truck, and take it into the backwoods and throw up a screen between the trees and show people what was going on in the outside world. And those are filmmakers that we don't celebrate. Those are individuals which we need to know about because they're part of our history. They not only are part of our history, but they are the documentarians of our culture of a different period. A period we need to know a whole lot more about. Thank you.